Okay, hello everyone. Today I will talk about moving target search with subgoal graphs. This is a joint work with Doron and Nussbaum. And this is how I organize my talk. Let's start with some introduction. We are introducing a moving target search algorithm. It is optimal. It doesn't use heavyweight preprocessing, and it reduces the response time of the agents. But why are we doing that? Because there are lots of applications in robotics, video games, and virtual simulations. And the agents in that applications require response in real time to be able to move smoothly in the search space. And of course, quality of the solutions affects the overall cost of reaching the target, which agents try to minimize. And I will try to explain moving target search a bit deeper. It's a dynamic path planning problem where an agent tries to reach a moving target in a static search environment. Agent has the full knowledge of the search environment and the target positions at all the times. The real problem in here is not locating or finding a path towards the target, but doing that in real time. And we are representing the environment with a connected grid. And let's talk a bit about the optimal solution, because since we don't know the future movements of the target, optimal solution is a bit tricky to define. Let's look at the first picture. In here, I depicted the positions of agent and the target with the letters A and T. In the first picture, agent has two options. One goes above the obstacle and one goes under the obstacle. And these both options are actually the cost minimal paths. If an agent picks one of the cost minimal paths at this time step, we say that it behaved optimally for this time step. If an agent behaves optimally for all the time steps during the search, we say that that agent is following an optimal strategy. However, as you can see in the picture B, even if both agents, agent prime and agent prime follow the optimal strategy, one of them actually gets closer to the target than the other. Therefore, following an optimal strategy doesn't necessarily means that you're minimizing the cost of reaching the target. However, our experiments and the previous experiments show that following an optimal strategy is the best we have so far. And I will move to the background section. Moving target search defined in 1991. There are actually two general approaches to solve them. Offline techniques try to calculate everything just before the search starts and executes the plan during the search. However, online techniques, like our algorithm and all the other algorithms that I'm going to mention during this talk, updates its solutions during the search to obtain better solutions according to moving target. And we are using subgoal graphs as well. Like the inventors of subgoal graphs explained very well, they're a bit alike 2D visibility graphs in 2D planes. And they're simple subgoal graphs. You basically obtain them by putting nodes on the corners of the obstacles, which we call them subgoals, and you're connecting them. If they are visible to each other, we are putting an edge between them. And beauty with them is you can add any 2 points on the search space to subgoal graph, and you can find a cost minimal path with searching the simple subgoal graph. And since the simple subgoal graph is very smaller than the original search space, your searches are much faster. And we also have the reduced version of the subgoal graphs. It's called two-level subgoal graphs. I'm not using n-level subgoal graphs for my algorithm, but it's also possible. In two-level subgoal graphs, you have some kind of properties. You just have to connect your points into the subgoal graph to be able to find a cost minimal path between them. And my contribution. As I said before, we are introducing an optimal algorithm as we define it. It speeds up the response time of the agent, and we don't require heavyweight preprocessing. We depend on two ideas. First one is pretty obvious, environment abstraction. Smaller search space means faster search. And the second one is incremental search. Even if the target moves at every time step, the paths between the time steps are not really changing drastically. Therefore, we can use incremental search to be able to search, make our search faster. Now I will try to explain our algorithm with a simple example. It shows the incremental search of our algorithm. Here we are seeing positions of agent and target indicated with SA and ST. And red grid cells indicate the global subgoals, which means the active subgoals of the two-level subgoal graph. And blue ones are the subgoals from the simple subgoal graph. They are not active yet. At this time step, we have to connect the agent and the target to the subgoal graph. And to be able to connect them, we are activating some initially not active subgoal graphs. I indicated them with yellow colors. And once we have connected subgoal graph, we can easily find a path between SA and SD with a simple A-star search. And this is how it looks without the grid cells and all the other stuff. And this is the plain path. And in here, we know that in the next time step, we are going to, like the agent is going to move one step up because it's basically following the path. However, we don't know the future movement of the target. As it turns out, it decides to move one step up as well. Now we have to update our path according to the new location of the target. To be able to do that, we are connecting the ST to the subgoal graph as well, but we are not connecting SA. This is different because we don't need to. Actually, I'm not looking at cost minimal path between SA and ST. Instead of that, I'm looking at a path between the initial root of the search tree and the target. To be able to do that, I'm not connecting SA, as I mentioned. Since I can only connect ST, I can reuse the existing search tree. I only make some small adjustments in the leaf nodes, which are very cheap. Therefore, my search is very fast. I can easily update my solution. Once I have a path between the root of the search tree towards the target, I check if my agent is sitting on that path. Because if it sits on that path, it's pretty obvious that it's on a cost minimal path towards the target, because any 2 points on a cost minimal path is also a cost minimal path. However, in some cases, it's not on that path. In that cases, I have to construct the search tree from scratch, as I did before in the first step. And if you wonder, I can't do that in incremental fashion because it turns out that it's more expensive than I expected. Simply constructing a search tree from scratch is much cheaper. And empirical evaluation. We have 100 scenarios for each map, and scenarios define the initial positions of agent and the target. And I use two target movement strategies for target movement. One is random. In random moving target basically moves randomly towards the unblocked cell in the search space. And a waypoint following target travels between randomly selected waypoints. And we have some competing algorithms. Repeated A-star and repeated subgoal graphs are basically designed to solve static path planning problems between static points. And I'm using them in a repetitive fashion to solve moving target search. I'm including them into my comparison because I would like to observe the effects of incremental search. And we have generalized fringe retrieving A-star, which is the best dynamic algorithm for the moving target search. And we have MTS-COPA. MTS-COPA has the lowest response time in the runtime, and it uses the preprocessing. I'm reporting average and maximum runtimes, and I'm also reporting preprocessing memory and preprocessing times. We conduct experiments in 4 map domains to be able to observe the effects of the environment to the algorithms. In random maps, we have random obstacles all over the place. As previous talk mentioned, our environment abstraction technique is not particularly good in these environments. And we have constructed maps. We obtained these maps from video games. They are a good representation of the real world. And we have maze maps. As the name suggests, they have narrow corridors all around. And heuristics are usually misleading. We also have room maps. In room maps, environment abstraction techniques works perfectly, and access to other room, access between rooms are possible between smaller openings. And this is my first set of experiments. We are comparing our algorithm against dynamic algorithms in this set of experiments. Our algorithm is indicated with blue color, and as you can see, we are overperforming all the other algorithms. But we are experiencing a performance degradation in the random maps due to the fact that subgoal graphs are not particularly good for random maps. The previous slide was showing the results for random moving target, but for the waypoint following target, we are still overperforming all the dynamic algorithms, but we are experiencing a performance degradation all around. This is because a waypoint following target is more likely to move out of its local area, which makes our incremental search less effective. And I have also a graph showing the individual step times that are spent during the search. This is a specific scenario for the map indicated in the picture. As you can see, I'm depicting the runtimes from repeated subgoal graphs and our algorithm MT-sub. Repeated subgoal graphs are basically non-incremental version of our algorithm. And as it turns out, at first our algorithm has a jump, but after that incremental search works very well and maintains a low cost. But with the waypoint following target, we obviously have more jumps all around, but still we are maintaining a low cost. And in the second set of experiments, we are comparing our algorithm against the MTS-COPA. MTS-COPA is an algorithm that heavily uses preprocessing, and it basically has a database and it makes lookups during the search to be able to solve the problem. I used only 3 constructed maps to be able to do the comparison. As you can see, MTS-COPA is better than our algorithm 3 to 4 times in average and maximum times. Where our algorithm really shines is the preprocessing step. As you can see, MTS-COPA really requires heavyweight preprocessing in memory and preprocessing time. However, we don't like usually constructing subgoal graph is much cheaper. And this is the step times for the MTS-COPA and our algorithm MT-sub. As you can see, MTS-COPA maintains a constant time during the search. This is because they're always doing a lookup. That makes them independent from the environment domain and the target movement strategies. It's a very good thing for the programs usually. And sometimes it is not so good because once the target and agent is really close, they don't really need that much of computation, or when the target is not moving, they still have to do the same kind of computation to be able to find the path. And As you can see, they are not affected from waypoint following target, MTS COPA, but our algorithm MT-sub affected from the target movement strategy. We had more jumps. And my conclusions. Our algorithm's performance depends on the techniques it uses. Obviously, the subgoal graphs and the incremental search. Our algorithm outperforms all dynamic algorithms for MTS. MT-sub has significantly smaller pre-processing requirements than that of MTS COPA. Therefore, it is applicable to larger environments. And MT-sub establishes itself as the new state-of-the-art in optimal moving target search without heavyweight pre-processing. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.